What's going on, boys? Today we are talking self-destruction and self-construction. There will be a little bit of MBTI in here because there are 5 videos I want to make, but I need to space them out correctly so I don't turn everything into a stupid clusterfuck, or more of a stupid clusterfuck than it already is. So, when I say self-destruction, I don't mean self-destructing by accident or by a series of bad behaviors. I mean dismantling yourself at every opportunity. Because if you can be dismantled and you aren't doing it yourself, someone else will, and they will not be gentle when they do. Now, how do you destroy yourself in a constructive way? Or in a way that paves the way for good, solid construction? Start by picking the thing you care about most, or if that's too hard, a habit or a word you like using now, you've developed lately. We will start with the word one, actually. That's better. There was a kid in my Boy Scouts troop when I was a young lad who suddenly decided he liked the word suddenly. And suddenly, he was using the word suddenly so often, people suddenly realized he was using it, and then suddenly, they started mocking him. Suddenly. Then, for about a month, everyone mocked this dude to his face and behind his back using the word suddenly every opportunity they got. That dude was a piece of shit anyway, and he deserved to be mocked. But the lesson here is bolt-ons are no substitute for solid construction. He slapped suddenly onto his sentences because he wanted to sound eloquent or interesting, and he ended up sounding stupid because all he's doing is slapping something over what he was already doing. You probably do something like that, and you probably do it in an attempt to sound sophisticated because that's what humans do, because we're stupid, because we don't question ourselves, because we don't think we need to and our egos feel good, because we don't see what's coming. But something is coming. It'll come from a bad habit, a lack of self-questioning, worse than an overused word, and the effects will be worse than a month of mockery. On the smallest of small levels, like that overused word, if you catch yourself doing something that creates a vulnerability for others to attack you, fix it. In the word case, you aren't making yourself sound smart, you're making yourself sound stupid, and you're inviting people to attack you. To prevent that, recognize what you're doing, criticize yourself for it, and stop doing it. Next stage. Little higher up, little more complicated. We'll start with a foundation to work off. There's a comedian. His name is Jim Norton. People sometimes call him Philosophical Jimmy, or Enlightened Jimmy, or Adorable Jimmy, to take the piss out of him when he changes his behavior, his vocabulary, his tempo, to achieve an effect because it's clear that's what he's doing. Now, an example for you or people you know. You'll notice you and others have a baseline of behavior, of vocabulary, of tempo when you are being yourself. But when you or others get insecure or are trying to make a point that is outside authenticity, not necessarily inauthentic, but it's not coming from you. What you're promoting is coming from something else. You change the words you use. Your voice changes. Your posture changes. You are way off your baseline when this is happening, and you're doing it because you are trying to repeat a concept you didn't create and recreate the effect it had on you in other people. Typologically speaking, ENFPs are the worst about this, but you'll see it in everyone. It's time to feel smart. You want to look smart, you want to make other people feel smart, you want to be smart together. So you start using smart words and speaking like the smart person you saw the other day. You have no real sustainable investment in what you're saying. You don't understand what you're saying because you aren't smart the way the person you heard is smart, but you want to feel that way. So you recreate the vocabulary, the posture, the tone, the tempo. You recreate all that. And it is not you. And you're doing it because you're trying to create an effect that is not yours because you don't have whatever gave the thing you're repeating its effect in the first place. I.e., philosophical Jimmy. Jim Norton is a fiend, but occasionally he mellows out and he speaks slower, and you can hear him nodding his bald fucking head and being really thoughtful, like really thoughtful. And some people, particularly the ISTP or ENTP in the room, spit on him when he does it because even though they can't articulate exactly what he's doing, they recognize that he is doing whatever they would call that. Philosophical Jimmy. They invented a word for it. Smaller example. You have been texting someone and somehow you pissed them off. Now they're mad. And suddenly they are really good with punctuation and they are invested in using periods after all their sentences. And by that alone, by that change alone, one, you can tell they're mad. Two, you can tell they're trying to make you take them seriously now that they're mad because they have adjusted the word I would use here is discourse, the vernacular, their aura, in an attempt to come off as serious. And of course you don't take them seriously. You roll your eyes because if they were a serious person you needed to worry about, they would have been serious before. Now, just now, you're gonna get serious and expect me to take you seriously? No, because you know it's not real, and they showed you it's not real by figuratively flinching by changing it all in the first place. Here is an even smaller example so we know what we're talking about. When someone even stupider than you or I tries to sound intelligent, what is the first thing you'll see a business undergrad do? They'll write utilize instead of use. Those two words now mean the same thing, I guess. But utilize sounds fancier than use, so they will write utilize to create the appearance of sophistication without needing any sophistication because all you're doing is exchanging one word for another. It's gilded, and that one word, that one exchange, that one posture can tell you a lot about a person. But before you judge them, even though you should, you need to know you do the exact same shit. And people will judge you for it, even if they're no better. When people do shit like this, they are posturing to try to convince you of an image of themselves, and they're trying to convince themselves of an image of themselves. They want to feel and be received a certain way, so they posture, and you posture. And if you posture without realizing you're posturing, you will give away information about yourself, namely that you're stupid, without realizing it. If someone realizes what you're doing and thinks you're stupid, you become vulnerable even if you aren't or think you aren't, because now they are going to test you when otherwise they wouldn't, because you don't come off like you're trying to prove anything, and they don't feel threatened and feel the need to beat you somehow. Humans are animals, that's just what they do, but if you destroy the part of yourself that feels the need to posture that way, you'll make yourself less vulnerable and you'll invite fewer attacks. So how do you stop yourself from feeling the need to do that sort of perform that sort of posturing? Either philosophical Jimmy or utilize. For me, the first step is realizing you're doing it at all. If you got bullied a lot as a kid, you have a leg up in this department because other people already did that for you. The next step is to analyze why you're doing it. It could be for any number of reasons, but I've found those reasons are always rooted in some kind of fear. Most often that sort of fear is insecurity, but there are others. I don't have my emotions wheel in front of me. You should get one, they're really neat and useful. But rooted in fear, primarily insecurity, over something. The next step is to stop the posturing. If you were posturing because you're afraid of feeling stupid, you want to feel smart, you want to at least feel not stupid, figure out how to do something that makes you feel smart without faking it, saying things you don't understand, and which, because you don't understand them, are unsustainable. It will break. The longer you have a flaw and don't destroy it, shore it up, fix it with diamond, the deeper that flaw gets. Invest yourself seriously in something you're interested in that will, as a byproduct of your interest and investment, create the sort of effect you're insecure about. You're doing it, in this case, not because you don't want to feel this way or you want to be received this way, but because you are interested and invested in whatever this thing is. And as a byproduct, it will create that desired effect. The other healthy alternative I've found is just to be dumb. If there's nothing you can do sustainably, authentically, to feel smart, then there's no point worrying about it because you're never going to get it anyway. I mean, you still will worry about it because that's what we do, but you can eliminate the vulnerability by stopping posturing and accepting what you are. One of my biggest insecurities is people believing I'm not a man of his word. The instinct with that insecurity is to make promises and drag yourself through glass trying to keep them. Stupid promises, pointless promises, but you run yourself ragged and end up breaking promises anyway because you make so many of them and they're so stupid and outlandish. It's compensation and performance for insecurity that is doomed to fail. And it's doomed to fail not just because of the compensation, but because things happen and humans suck and I am a human. I cannot get away from the fact I suck, and neither can you. The best you can do is accept it and manage it. Example that bugged me for about a week. I wanted illustrations for my novelette, and I wanted to work with people from my channel. Met an artist. Cool dude. I had a sneaking suspicion my novelette wasn't going to make much money starting out, so my illustrations budget was limited. At his numbers with my budget, I could afford 2, maybe just 1 illustration. I meet a second artist who actually was the artist I had in mind style-wise for what I wanted the illustrations to look like, and he offered me a better rate, 10 illustrations instead of 2 or 1 in my budget, and he would start immediately. I'm now caught between a rock and a hard place, because while I didn't sign a contract or say explicitly, I will pay you this amount for these things, I still feel like I gave my word to artist number 1. So my options are go over my this isn't going to make any money budget and get a quarter of what I'm looking for, or go back on my word and now I have wasted this nice dude's time and tarnished my own credibility or reliability, not just to other people but to myself. Neither are good, so the workable solution I came up with was pay artist 1 part of the budget for wasting his time and apologize, then commission artist 2 with the rest of the money. The latter of which didn't even come to plan because I'm impatient, and I'll probably end up paying artist 2 some of the budget to apologize for not commissioning everything I asked for. And if you'll notice, we're talking a lot about ego here. About maybe 30 seconds to a minute ago, I actually stepped away from this recording for about an hour and a half, completely lost my train of thought, and now that I've returned, I am turning the example I was using into an opportunity to boost my own ego. I am such a good guy, trying to keep everyone happy and keep my golden word intact, while making some hard decisions about artistic vision, pondering about communication and teamwork and the value of your word, all that stupid shit. Posturing. Getting back on track, the reality is I'm a fucking dummy who can't figure out how to do things. And I make myself look bad, and I waste other people's time because I'm incompetent and impatient. And I worry about things, fuss about things that don't matter. I was going to mention another solution I've found for the second layer of posturing. Formal baselines. I have a video on them, I will link to them. Formal baselines aren't a be-all, end-all, but they are an effective shield against posturing or accidental flinches, or tells if you're playing poker. Earlier I used the example of feeling dumb, posturing not to feel dumb, wanting to feel smart, or just accepting the fact you're dumb, but that example can apply to anything. Insecurities, I mean. Could be about wealth, could be about sexual ability, that's a spicy one, could be anything. Anything that would prompt insecurity and make you want to posture, to perform, to become philosophical Jimmy, or all I need's my meat and potatoes down home. I don't need any of that big city stuff. Down home guy. Any sort of performance in response to insecurity you're using, you're adapting. Doesn't come from you because you're trying to feel some way or avoid another feeling or to be perceived or received a certain way that you wouldn't otherwise. Now, you fix that sort of thing by destroying yourself with precision. If you catch yourself performing for any reason to achieve some effect, you need to imagine the absolute worst result that performance could cause. Right? So, philosophical Jimmy, you start waxing poetic, even though you're not poetic, you aren't particularly smart, you aren't particularly philosophical, but you want people to think you are, or you want to create a philosophical mood because you're more after the mood than you are anything of substance. You risk people realizing you're dumb. You have nothing kicking around in your head. You're vapid. You want the feeling, not the essence. Because if you're going after the essence, you wouldn't be going after that feeling at all. You wouldn't be trying to create that feeling. That feeling, if it even happens, because if you're going after the essence, you don't necessarily need that to happen. It will happen naturally, if at all. But you didn't do it that way. You became philosophical Jimmy, and now people are mocking you. People think you're stupid, and it's easy to say, I don't care what people think, but it becomes a problem once you realize you've lost credibility. People don't listen to you anymore. Once people think you're stupid, you've lost the ability to get them to take you seriously, to get things done, to achieve your goals. You're lucky if they don't treat you like you're stupid. If they don't mock you. Not just if they don't mock you. If they don't make your life harder, impose challenges on you because they don't like you. You ever meet likes to fight guy? Thinks he likes to fight guy? Talks about how he beats people's asses, knows all sorts of martial arts, and then likes to fight guy runs into knows how to fight guy, and knows how to fight guy is having a bad day or is sick of likes to fight guy's bullshit. It's not pretty, and once knows how to fight guy is finished with likes to fight guy, now everyone is kicking likes to fight guy while he's down, can't give him a breath, because now everybody knows he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's a wimp, he's a loser, anyone can take a swing at him and get away with it. Even if they can't, they'll still try and act arrogant because they think they can. Your performance fucked your perception all up. Or stoic guy. Stoicism's popular. All young men need to know about stoicism, need to be stoics. I'll bet some of you people, my dear viewers, are stoic guy, because the idea of stoicism is a virus that won't go away. In fact, we'll go through stoicism guy as if you are stoicism guy. So you are stoicism guy, and you are walking around telling everyone that you can't control the chaos of the world, but you can control yourself. You choose what you do and don't feel. It's your choice, mind over matter. Keep a straight face. And that's all you talk about because you have no identity besides stoicism, besides being stoicism guy, so people are sick of you now. And then you break your leg. You lose your job. Nobody hangs out with you anymore. You start drinking, you cry. And now, many people are enjoying your torment because stoicism isn't getting you out of this one. You had one claim to an identity you beat to death and annoyed everyone with, because that's all you had, and now everyone is enjoying the irony at your expense, and I guarantee someone will come to help you, but it'll be pity help. And it will be condescending pity help. Because stoicism's straight-faced guy is crying. That's so sad. He couldn't take care of himself before, and we all knew it, because taking care of himself and being strong was all he talked about. Now we really need to help him, because now he is completely lost. And now, not only are you receiving pity help, because nobody thinks you're capable even of taking care of yourself, but also, nobody will ever think you're capable of taking care of yourself ever again. And if they do, it's going to seem even more pitiful and condescending, because it's an achievement you managed to do something everyone else just does. Once you fuck up one of these things, you are permanently set back, and you might not realize it to its fullest extent until years and years later. But that is exactly what you need to be thinking about. If I am letting my insecurities make me do things that are not diamond, that are not airtight, what will the worst consequences be if I slip? You can probably get away with slips most of the time, but the longer you perform, the longer you let your insecurities control you, the worse that slip will be when it happens. You need to look at the insecure part of yourself as a little gremlin trying to steal the wheel of your car from you. That's what's happening. When you utilize, when you become philosophical Jimmy, you are letting your insecurities steal control of your life from you. And once you lack control of your life, lack control of yourself, you can't guide outcomes. You are trapped, you are chained to whatever that performance demands you do. You need to hate the insecure part of yourself. Not for being insecure, because you'll always be insecure, but for influencing you to make bad decisions, to act ways that will lead to bad outcomes and wrest control from you, conscious you. You need to question every single thing you say. You need to question every single one of your insecurities, feelings, behaviors, etc. Analyze them. Is this the best idea? Is this coming from a good place? Will this get me the outcome I want, or am I doing this to compensate for something? You need to question and attack yourself, your behaviors, your thought patterns, until you are so overwhelmed and afraid you're paralyzed. There seem to be no good decisions, no good actions, no good outcomes. Once you've shoved your own face deep enough into the dirt, once you've destroyed yourself enough, then you can start self-construction. You go from Achilles to a string bean clay person. You might think it's a bad idea to question yourself until you can't move, but life won't let you sit still very long. It will force you to act. Then, still thinking about the absolute worst, you pick the least worst. Now, that first step after self-destruction might feel like a baby step, might feel like a minuscule step, and it is, but it's also solid. You aren't performing because performing has too many risks to be viable long term. You aren't letting your insecurities control you because they'll make you do stupid things, and you know that. They'll make you become Achilles, except everybody knows about Achilles' heel already. So you can't do that. You can't become Achilles. Everybody already knows your secret. So you have to come from what you are as you are, because that's the only thing that's real. Even if you don't understand it. Even if it bugs you. Especially if it bugs you. You have no Achilles heel at that point because everybody already knows about it. And you're getting better at defending it. You aren't hiding anything. There's no unmasking. There's no surprise. There's no rush to stick you in your heel. Everybody already knows about it. Most importantly, you already know about it, so you can plan around it. And those plans will be solid, because you are hyper aware of the absolute worst. You're planting seeds, and seeds won't get you far initially, but your seeds are diamonds. You're planting diamond trees. You'll move slowly in the beginning, and you'll be paralyzed with fear. You won't know what is and isn't real, but now your form is solid. And if the worst happens, it's not grand, but you already prepared for it. You expected to succeed by mostly failing. And once failure still nets you a little success, you have a winning foundation you can build from. Then, once you've rolled those seeds into a mountain, you are so much harder to take down. You aren't living in a house of cards. When the worst comes, you're still going to be fine. No unmasking because you aren't hiding anything. No slips because you aren't performing solidness to feel solid. You are solid because you made yourself solid. No gotchas because there's nothing to get. No identity crises because there's nothing there other than the lowest, most unbreakable bedrock. And I'm realizing I've been saying diamonds, and now I'm saying bedrock, and this is a lot like Minecraft. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying, or I'm hoping it's making sense. You can build a house of sticks you can hide in, or you can become a mountain. Not just in the unshakable sense, but also in the mountain as natural formation sense. It's made of what's already there, what's already in the earth, and people won't recognize it as a construction. People might see your house of sticks and come to burn it down because humans suck. But they won't notice a mountain because it's part of the environment. There's nothing unnatural about it. It's this big thing that's just there. And I'm reiterating, it comes from the earth. Meaning you need to acknowledge and accept everything in you for what it is, exactly as it is. Tear yourself all the way down, then make decisions based on reality. And you might be thinking, people get far faking it, performing, conforming to the persona a position holds, the expectation of position holds, expectations of the person in that position. A lot of people get far doing that. So why bother with this tedious, obnoxious, hurting, painful process. I think it's preference, because you're right. You can get far without doing this thing. But to me, one, this is more spiritually fulfilling, as in, I don't like making decisions using bad intel or skewed lenses, even though our lenses will always be skewed. But we've built a system for working on that. And I don't like losing what I have. So my response is to build a system or to build a self that prevents loss, because anything to lose you've already thrown away or prepared to lose. And even though you can't do that ultimately, because again, our lenses are always going to be skewed, our insecurities are always going to be there, we can't be sure of every single thing we feel or what might happen, because we won't know until whatever it is happening. But we've set ourselves up to manage those situations once they arise, instead of falling apart like a wooden house during an earthquake. You'll still make bad decisions, you'll still stroke your own ego, your insecurities will still always wrest control from you sometimes, but you can work against it. In summary, sandblast your identity and your ego until there is almost nothing left. All that remains is an itty-bitty little core, and then build from that, and you will be not perfect, not even as perfect as the system could be, but better and stabler than you were before. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Stepping away for an hour and a half fucked up my flow, but I think the video turned out okay. And one of my big issues is still realizing I am performing something, and then feeling that urge to question it and tear it down, but being unable to, because the action is already in motion. And planning on the consequences and preparing not to let that happen again, even though it always does, because the depths of your own ego and narcissism and insecurities is endless. And you need to take a machete to it as consistently as you can. Recognizing what's happening, acknowledging reality, and accounting for it, planning around it, is the best we're ever going to be able to manage. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes, and comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. There's this gigantic web of influences and things controlling people that it seems like only some INTPs and INFJs, typologically speaking, are capable of noticing. And I always feel like I'm crazy when I'm trying to explain that web to people. If you have any sense of what I'm talking about, please tell me your interpretation of it. I am interested. Trying to explain this shit to NFPs and NTJs, it's nightmarish. Actually, some ISTJs I've spoken with seem to have a sense of it, but that might be a fluke, and I don't know for certain. We'll work on that. Curious to hear your thoughts. But thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can realize everything you just spent the last however many hours recording and editing out will be contradicted by, or seemingly contradicted by, future videos you're planning, but you still need to make this one, this fun one, as a foundation for future ones so they can make sense with this foundation and then tie them all together in a way that makes sense and works, even though it's not going to make sense to anybody. So why bother? Because it's fun. And that's how much fun we have on this channel. And I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.